She crosses her legs slowly, as if time itself bends around the movement. Her eyes glance away, feigning disinterest, but her body tells an ancient story older than language. You believe it is nothing, just casual comfort, random posture. But what you fail to see is that in the way she sits, the dance of seduction begins. Her hips angle not by accident, but by instinct, her body turning toward or away from you with a precision no words could ever match. Each gesture is a weapon, each silence an invitation, and each subtle shift of weight is the theater of desire disguised as innocence. A woman's seated posture has always carried archetypal power. Think of the queen upon her throne, legs crossed with authority, holding a realm beneath her gaze. Think of the courtesan, lounging sideways, exposing only what she chooses, keeping the rest cloaked in shadow. The way she sits is not comfort, it is signal. And most men, blind in their hunger, never notice. They only see the surface, the convenient lie. But beneath that surface lives a code, written in the unconscious, rooted in biology, and sharpened by millennia of selective power. When she tucks one leg beneath her and leans toward you, her frame closes the distance without her voice daring to say a word. When she sits with knees slightly apart, not obscene but suggestive in its openness, she flirts with danger, inviting, daring, and testing you to see if you notice. When she crosses her ankles, delicate and demure, it is the performance of innocence. Yet the tighter the cross, the stronger the unspoken tension. None of this is random. All of it is calculated, though not consciously. Her body moves under the spell of instincts older than civilization. You must ask yourself, how many times have you been in the presence of these signs and failed to recognize them? How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because you mistook her subtlety for passivity? A woman never announces desire directly. To do so would strip her of the feminine mystique that gives her power. She will not walk up to you and declare, "I want you now." Instead, she tilts her hips, shifts her weight, angles her torso, and watches from the corner of her eye to see if you can read what most men cannot. Psychologists who study nonverbal communication note that attraction leaks through posture more than any other signal. Words can lie, but the body betrays. Yet women are masters of controlled betrayal. They allow the leak just enough for the man of perception to detect. If he does not, the moment evaporates. This is the cruel game. Desire shown in fragments, withheld in shadows, given only to the man who sees through silence. And you, sitting across from her, often believe she is merely comfortable, merely casual. You believe she is detached, but her body, her seat, her subtle play is screaming at a frequency you have never trained your eyes to hear. Think of the archetype of the siren, half goddess, half danger. She never lunges at her prey. She does not chase. She positions herself, draped in mystery, and lets the man drown in his own blindness. In modern life, this is no different. A woman on a cafe chair, legs folded one way then another, hair falling to cover half her face, waiting to see if you recognize the storm behind her posture. It is in those moments where power is exchanged, not in words but in angles, pauses, and the way a woman occupies space. Most men fail because they do not look beneath the posture. They see a woman sitting. They do not see a woman signaling. They miss the way her foot points toward them, betraying her attention. They overlook the way she tilts her pelvis subtly forward, a gesture of ancient fertility encoded into her frame. They fail to notice the restless shifting in her chair when the air between you grows charged, her body betraying the pressure of unspoken want. Instead, they talk endlessly, blind to the fact that her body's already screaming louder than her lips ever could. You must understand, when she sits with intention, she is testing. Testing if you can see, testing if you are awake, testing if you are man enough to interpret the signals forbidden to the dull and distracted. A woman will never risk everything by making her desire obvious. She will mask it, cloak it, disguise it within posture. She wants you to notice, but she wants you to work for the noticing. Because the man who can see what is hidden becomes dangerous, and the man who cannot see becomes forgettable. She crosses her legs slowly, and you laugh it off. But that moment, subtle, fleeting, was the spark she offered. The question is whether you will keep pretending not to see, or whether you will finally train your eyes to the truth no woman will ever confess in words. Her seat becomes a battlefield of symbols. Watch closely. When she leans back in her chair, appearing relaxed, her body angles diagonally, not fully retreating. One shoulder drawn away, but the other exposed. It is not distance, it is lure. She creates absence to build tension, forcing you to lean into the vacuum she leaves behind. That lean, subtle as it is, whispers, "Chase me if you dare." And when she shifts her weight forward, elbows on knees, her face tilted toward yours, do not mistake it for casual interest. This is a collapse of barriers, a brief unveiling of intimacy. Forward lean is not comfort, it is risk. It is her body surrendering space, telling you without words that the moment has become heavier than the air itself. Every angle matters. Every posture is a code. When she crosses one leg high over the other, knee pointing toward you, the pose is bold, even defiant, yet hidden beneath it lies a spark of invitation. It is the archetype of the huntress, confident, guarded, yet signaling that her fire is directed your way. But when the cross is away from you, knees closing the gap in defense, her body shields itself. And still, her eyes betray her, darting to you, testing if you notice that the fortress she builds is not entirely solid. This is where men stumble. They fail to see that a fortress can be a dare. Defensive posture is often not rejection, but a deeper form of seduction. Women veil their attraction in resistance, in partial withdrawal, because to reveal too much would rob them of mystery. They do not hand you the key, they leave it hidden, daring you to find it. The way she sits is the veil. To the blind, it looks like nothing. To the awakened, it is a riddle to be solved. Why are these signals so deeply encoded? Because female sexuality has always been shadowed by risk, social, biological, psychological. A woman's survival in ancient tribes depended on hiding desire, not flaunting it. To reveal too openly would make her prey. So desire became subtle, woven into posture, into leg crosses, into tilts of the hip. This camouflage of attraction lives on in the modern woman, even as she sips coffee in a city cafe. You are witnessing instinct sharpened by centuries of danger, passed down in the way she occupies her seat. And yet you, like countless men before, dismiss these movements. You assume she is just comfortable. You let the signs pass you by. That is why you sit frustrated at night, replaying the interaction, wondering why she drifted away when the signals were there all along. The truth is cruel. She tested your awareness, and you failed. Women do not fall for men who cannot see. They fall for men who read the hidden script, the ancient choreography written into their bodies. Imagine her in a crowded room, seated with friends. To everyone else, she is simply chatting, laughing, leaning back, legs crossed away. But her foot points toward you, steady and unwavering, as if her body refuses to lie. The foot, the most honest part of human body language, betrays her focus. You notice, and in that moment, you hold the power. You've seen what the others have missed. She is seducing you in silence, and only you can decode the message. This is the forbidden truth most men cannot handle. Women seduce not with words, but with stillness, with posture, with the smallest shifts that ripple through the unconscious. They live in the shadow of plausible deniability, able to claim innocence at any moment. I was just sitting, but you know better. You've seen the way her body tenses when your voice grows deeper. You've caught the restless shifting when silence lingers between you. You've noticed how she straightens her back suddenly when you stand near, as if her body prepares for inspection, her instincts demanding attention. Do not mistake this for coincidence. The unconscious never lies. She may not even realize the message she sends, but her body speaks in a language older than memory. She wants you to hear it, but only if you have the courage to translate. You have ignored these signs before, haven't you? You've told yourself stories. She's shy, She's bored. She's just comfortable. But deep down, you know the truth. You failed to see her, and that failure cost you. The seduction was there, wrapped in the way she sat, and you let it pass like smoke through your fingers. Now ask yourself, will you keep living blind, or will you sharpen your eyes to the truth? Because every time a woman sits across from you, a game begins. The rules are hidden, the signals disguised. But if you learn to read them, the world shifts. Suddenly, you see what most men never will. She shifts again, this time so subtly you almost convince yourself you imagined it. Her spine straightens, her shoulders roll back, her chest opens, not as an act of dominance, but as a primal gesture of display. This is the ancient signal of vitality, of allure, of readiness. Yet she masks it with a smile, with idle chatter, as though nothing has changed. But her body has already spoken. Her posture has revealed what her lips will never dare to confess. When a woman sits, she is never neutral. Every pose carries with it a shadow meaning. Consider the archetype of the maiden. Legs pulled close, ankles crossed, her body making itself small. At first glance, it seems modesty, even detachment. But look deeper. That shrinking posture is not rejection. It is performance. By drawing herself in, she forces your attention outward, daring you to fill the space. Her innocence is not weakness, but weapon, crafted to test whether you will recognize the invitation cloaked as restraint. Then there is the archetype of the enchantress, legs draped lazily, her body slanted with calculated indifference. She acts as though she does not care, as though your presence is a passing breeze. But her pose is designed to torment. The relaxed sprawl is not true relaxation, it is theater. She wants you to wonder why she is so unguarded, why her body seems to claim the space with such audacity. Her pose is a net cast wide, daring you to get entangled. Do you see how posture is never accidental? Women are the masters of ambiguity. They live in the borderland between yes and no, desire and denial. This is why most men fail. They wait for obviousness, for declarations, for clarity that will never arrive. A woman's desire is encrypted. She hides it in the curve of her spine, in the angle of her knee, in the restless shuffle of her seat when the air grows heavy. If you are blind, you miss it. If you are awake, you wield it. And why does she hide? Why cloak her attraction instead of revealing it? The forbidden truth is this. Women are taught, both by instinct and by culture, that power lies in concealment. If she speaks desire openly, she risks rejection, judgment, vulnerability. But if she hides it, cloaks it in posture, she can always deny. She can always retreat into the veil of innocence. I was just sitting that way. You imagined it. Seduction for her is not direct. It is plausible deniability wrapped in body language. This is why her signals feel maddening. You sense them, but cannot prove them. Her leg shifts toward you, her foot brushes the edge of your shoe, her hips angle closer with every passing moment, but she keeps her eyes down, her words light. It is a paradox. Her body shouts while her lips whisper nothing. And you are left in a labyrinth of contradictions. But here lies the challenge. Will you cower in confusion, or will you rise into clarity? A man who fails to read these signs becomes disposable. He is the one she laughs with, chats with, and forgets. A man who sees, truly sees, becomes unforgettable because he catches the signals she never meant to make obvious. He becomes dangerous to her because he pierces the veil. Think of the countless times you ignored the truth. The cafe where her knees pointed at you the entire conversation, but you told yourself she wasn't interested. The dinner where she leaned forward, her chin resting on her palm, body open, only for you to bury yourself in nervous small talk. The bar where she adjusted her seat repeatedly, hips shifting toward you, yet you convinced yourself it was random. Each moment was seduction, and each time you missed it. It is not her fault you failed. It is yours. Women are not going to make it easy. They never have, and they never will. Their signals are not designed to be obvious. They are designed to be hidden in plain sight, given only to the man who has eyes sharp enough to see. This is a nature's game, and you have been losing. Now imagine this. She sits across from you tonight, legs crossed toward you, her foot tapping slowly as if marking time. Her body leans just a fraction closer. Her hand brushes her thigh absent-mindedly, drawing attention without meaning to. These are not accidents. This is the script she writes without words. The question is, will you finally read it? Or will you remain blind? Another man who watches her walk away, never realizing he was chosen and failed the test. She adjusts once more, and this time the mask almost slips. Her hips swivel, her torso turns, and suddenly her whole frame orients toward you. The gesture is bold yet fleeting, as if her unconscious betrayed her before her mind could restrain it. Then, as quickly as it appeared, she reclines again, covering the revelation with indifference. This is the rhythm of feminine seduction: advance and retreat, exposure and concealment. Like waves, her body moves in patterns designed to pull you in and push you back, testing whether you have the strength to hold your ground. The forbidden truth is that women rarely sit still when attraction is alive. The body becomes restless, charged with electricity. Fingers toy with jewelry, legs shift positions. The seat itself becomes too confining. This is not nervousness alone. It is desire seeking escape. Her body wants to speak, but her voice cannot risk the confession. So the seat becomes her language. Every adjustment, every tilt, every rearrangement of limbs is her way of screaming silently. And you, the man across from her, are either deaf or dangerous depending on whether you hear it. Consider the archetype of the siren. She does not swim toward the sailor. She remains perched, poised, letting the music of her presence draw him closer. A modern woman does the same with posture. She does not lunge across the table. She does not shout her want. Instead, she aligns her body toward you, drapes herself in certain angles, exposes one side while cloaking another. She lets you drown not in her words, but in her arrangement of silence and pose. Why do most men fail this test? Because they are trapped in the illusion of language. They wait for verbal confirmation, a direct invitation. But seduction does not live in words, it lives in shadows. It hides in the unconscious, in the primitive signals that no civilization can erase. She could say she is uninterested while her knees point directly at you, and the body's honesty will betray her lie. She could claim she is indifferent while her posture opens in subtle vulnerability, offering what her words conceal. You've ignored this before, haven't you? She sat angled toward you, her body speaking desire, but you looked down at your phone. She leaned forward, her lips parted slightly as she waited for you to claim the moment, but you filled the silence with empty talk. She crossed her legs deliberately, slowly, her eyes flicking to yours as if daring you to see, but you were blind. And so she withdrew, deciding you were not the man she hoped you were. This blindness is not harmless. It costs you. Every time you fail to see, you reinforce the truth that you are replaceable. Women are not short of attention. They are flooded with it. What they starve for is perception. A man who can see what others miss becomes magnetic because he does not need her to announce desire. He already knows. He reads her body like a forbidden book, and that terrifies and excites her in equal measure. Understand this. Seduction is not an accident. When she sits, when she shifts, when she crosses or uncrosses her legs, she is not merely finding comfort. She is signaling, testing, playing. She wants to know if you are awake or asleep. The dull man sees nothing. The weak man doubts what he sees. The strong man recognizes, interprets, and acts. That is the hierarchy. Which are you? The climax of recognition is brutal. Every woman you have ever desired has left you clues in the way she sat. Every one. And most of the time, you miss them. Not because she was unclear, but because you were untrained. You chose blindness. You chose the safety of denial rather than the danger of truth. Because truth is dangerous, it demands you respond. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you recognize her posture as seduction, you either rise to meet it or shrink into irrelevance. Picture her now, seated across from you. Her leg brushes yours beneath the table. Lightly, almost accidental. She pretends not to notice, but her body remains angled, uncorrected. She shifts her weight closer, her hand tracing the rim of her glass, her shoulders squared to you in unconscious surrender. Every signal screams what her lips refuse to say. This is the moment men either seize or waste. Most waste it. They rationalize, they stall. They pretend ignorance to protect themselves from rejection. But the rare man, the dangerous man, hears the body's truth and acts upon it. And that man is unforgettable. Because to a woman, nothing is more terrifying, nothing is more thrilling than the man who sees through her veil. She sits as though carved from shadow and fire. Every angle of her posture, an unspeakable confession. Her body betrays her long before her voice ever would. You followed her movements, traced the subtle rhythm of her hips, the way her knees drift toward you, then away, the restless shifts that reveal her rising tension. And now you stand on the edge of the final truth. The dangerous realization that female sexuality is never declared, only encoded. A woman's greatest weapon is ambiguity. When she sits, she wraps her desire in layers of deniability. She can always claim, "I was just comfortable." But you, if you've sharpened your eyes, know the truth. You've seen the way her frame aligns with yours like a compass finding north. You've caught the way her ankles lock tight when the energy is overwhelming, the way she uncrosses slowly, deliberately, daring you to recognize what she cannot say aloud. She is the siren on the rocks, the queen on her throne, the huntress cloaked in silence, all embodied in the simple act of sitting. And yet, what makes it truly dangerous is that most men will never see it. They are deaf to the music of posture. They live in the prison of words, waiting for explicit confirmation that never comes. Women know this. That is why they use their seats as battlegrounds. The way she sits becomes the test. Will you notice, or will you remain blind like all the others? You know now why so many men lose. You know why she lost interest, even though you thought the conversation went well. It was never about the conversation. It was about whether you caught the flicker of her body's truth. You didn't. You dismissed it. You failed. And so, she moved on to the man who did not. The forbidden truth is that seduction is not loud. It is quiet, hidden, dangerous in its subtlety. It is the flick of her hair as she leans, the angle of her shoulders as she opens or closes, the brush of her foot that she never corrects. It is in her stillness, in her fidgeting, in her silence. Seduction is posture. Seduction is sitting. This realization should unsettle you, because it means every time you've been in the presence of women, you've been tested. Every cafe, every dinner, every bar stool, each one a stage where her body spoke and you failed to listen. How many moments of desire have you let die in your blindness? How many times have you allowed yourself to believe she was disinterested when in truth, her posture begged you to see her? The moment you learn this language, the entire landscape changes. You no longer wait for words. You no longer need declarations. You see what others cannot. And that, more than looks, more than wealth, more than charm, is what sets you apart. The man who reads posture is the man who awakens the deepest fear and the deepest craving within women. Fear because he sees what she hides. Craving because being seen is the most intimate seduction of all. So here you sit, on the edge of blindness and awakening. The choice is yours. Will you keep ignoring her legs crossing slowly, her body angling toward you, her unconscious shifting that signals heat beneath restraint? Will you dismiss it again as nothing? Or will you finally claim your sight, stepping into the realm of men who cannot be fooled, men who cannot be replaced? Remember this final line: desire is never spoken, only signaled. Learn to see it or be blind forever. Subscribe to the Stoic Path for more archetypal truths, Jungian psychology, and timeless philosophy.